Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back again with Ronnie Feldman for another episode of the award-winning Creativity and Compliance. Welcome back, Ronnie.
Oh, it's good to be here, and we're recording on a Monday. I have not showered today, but this is not about hygiene. This is about compliance.
I'm really happy to know that. Thank you for sharing that. I think you just probably made, I'm not quite sure what you made, but that really leads to the topic I wanted to explore in this podcast, Ronnie, which is how do we move from cleaning up messes to becoming advisors and coaches? Because I think in 2025, that's even more important.
Yeah. It's interesting because I spent last couple weeks back, I was at the Global Ethics Summit where they announced the world's most ethical companies and participated in that event, showed off all the content, and spent a lot of time really schmoozing and with other compliance officers and listening to their main concerns. And one of the topics everybody talks about is AI. And one of the things that they talk about there is that how, like a lot of the more rote jobs, like writing policies, there's functions that are going to go away that compliance officers currently do, or certainly going to be made easier by this tool. So it becomes even more important that you're showing the value to your colleagues, that you're proving your worth, that you are in fact advisors and coaches that are helping the business operate in a more efficient, effective, and ethical way. So no matter what the topic was, when I was listening in the sessions, they were like, it's really important that we're advisors and coaches and that we have a seat at the table. Now, we say this in the compliance community. Do they think that? Does the business think that way? I would argue currently that they do not. That this is the biggest challenge. We have to find ways to get the business to understand that you are not there to clean up the messes when they screw up, that you are there to help and advise them. So how do we do that? Advertising 101. The first thing is you have to tell them that's what you do. And so that's in every way possible way that you communicate. Advertise your help and support. We are positive, helpful advisors and coaches here to help you. You are accountable for making the workplace better. You are accountable for doing the business within the rules. And we're going to help you because it's really confusing and there's too many laws and rules and regulations. So guess what? We are here to help you. What doesn't help you, once a year, annual, bloated, boring training, because then they just think of you as the person that wasted their time and made you check the box. Yeah, go ahead. Jump in.
Ronnie actually brings to mind John Cleese.
Yeah.
Because it strikes me that he actually talks to us in the compliance community. How does John Cleese come into the message you're giving us?
So what John Cleese said was the main evolutionary significance of humor is it gets us from the closed mode to the open mode faster than anything else. And if you ever look back at John Cleese from Monty Python, he, in addition to being a comedic genius, was also a pioneer in the concept of improvisation and controlled play as a way to inspire ideation and creativity and innovation. And so in the compliance space, we talk about it in the sense that people who are positive and helpful and interesting and comedic and playful tends to open up solutions. It tends to open up ideas. The way I would continue to translate this for compliance is in all the ways that we communicate, we need to be positive and helpful. We need to understand the business in their terms and communicate in ways that they understand and offer up solutions for them to solve problems. So when they come to you and say, hey, we want to fly out this person to our meeting and we're going to pay for it. It's a great way to win business. The short answer is no, can't do that. That could be considered a bribe. That's very finger waggy. Another way to do that would be to use the improv phrase, yes, and. You go, that's an interesting idea. I see this is an important client for you. That's your yes. I'd like to offer up some other perspectives because there's a couple of laws in play here. This could be considered a kickback or a payoff of some sort. So can we think about other ways that we might be able to win favor with this client outside of that? And now you're having a conversation about how to solve this problem, and you're doing that together versus a confrontational or adversarial relationship where you're saying no and now you're in an argument or a debate. So I love the idea in communicating in ways that understand that we're all trying to win business as ethically and responsibly as possible, and we're on your side. So you got to tell them that all the time. You got to offer them solutions, and then you'll start getting invited to the table more often to proactively do it. But they're not going to do it on their own if they only know you for the annual training. They only know you as the office of no.
Ronnie, how would you assess the need for personal touch, personal communication, to meet people in person? As now we're several years out of the pandemic and travel is becoming more normalized, or at least maybe not as much as we did pre-pandemic, but we're certainly getting out now. You've mentioned several times the once-a-year training, and I think we all agree that's insufficient. But is there some combination that you would counsel a client on, a monthly, a quarterly, an annual, a something trip supplemented with some type of annual communications or light bites or espresso shots of engagement? I heard somebody say once.
Yeah, I don't think there's any magic formula to this. The more that you can make human connections with your business colleagues in every capacity, whether that's within your team or across into the business, is always helpful. For your large organizations out there, it's not always practical can't be in every office all the time. So you got to find ways to humanize yourself, to make yourself approachable. Yes to live training, yes to showing up at the sales meeting, yes to showing up at the leadership meeting. I would argue that you get more access to those meetings and if you do something that's fun and interesting. If you're playing showing up with a fun commercial and playing that at the sales meeting before you talk, or kicking off that live training with a fun video or a fun game of some sort, or giving a piece of fun content to a leader and having them deploy it. Like all these things, comedy, humor, music, drama, creativity, all of these things sort of increase the likelihood that you will get access to more training and comm channels, and that you get access to the leaders will be more likely to involve you. So yes to using these tools, but also things like we've developed a whole business that's based on like creating these live talk shows. And all we're really doing is putting a fun host talking to a very serious compliance person and asking them the questions that employees might ask, but doing it in a fun way. And we record it over Zoom and Teams. We had a episode a few weeks back with Katie Lawler at US Bank, who did what did she call it? The compliance ride share? Is that what she called it? Or the ethics ride share? I think it was called the ethics ride share. And it was essentially her driving around in a car with a leader talking about ethics and compliance and recording it. And it was just a real casual conversation. It has just enough of a fun wrapper around it that people got to know Katie, and she got to know these leaders, and they got to know them. I'm rambling a little bit, but the idea is, yes, the annual or every other year roadshow, or hit different regions periodically so they get to meet you. The other is to record things that have them seeing you and hearing you, or having them seeing you and hearing your leaders. We did a podcast last year with the Agilent Technology folks. They made trading cards for their compliance team. They used AI to help make these fun, like baseball-like cards, but each ethics officer had a fun fact and had their name and their job description and a fun fact. And it gave people something to talk about. It was much easier to go talk to someone who looks like they're a good time than somebody who's scary. And let's face it, when you're in legal and compliance or in a position of authority, you're sometimes scary and intimidating. So yeah, anything we can do to make you more friendly and approachable, because you are. We all are. So we have to find ways to communicate that way and be more creative and playful, so that they know that it's going to be, it's a lot easier. The barriers is a little bit easier because they're not worried that, oh, this is going to be a scary, painful conversation.
Ronnie, a compliance officer came to you and said, look, love what your ideas are, but I got no money. Could you maybe help them understand that there are some incredibly low-cost ways to do engaging entertainment, even starting with a recording on an iPhone? can you go low tech and have as big an impact because people have to stop and notice, oh, what is this? Why is my chief compliance officer talking to me from an iPhone? Does something like that work?
Sure, like almost every idea that I've suggested doesn't necessarily require a big budget. It's certainly helpful. We're at a business where we have a 200 some plus pieces of short, fun, interesting content on different risk areas. I don't give that away because we spent my whole career sort of finding interesting techniques that are helpful to people and creating that content. But it doesn't have to cost a lot. The Agilent Technologies idea didn't cost anything. These little contests and games don't cost anything except for a little bit of your time to add that creative element. The US Bank Ethics Rideshare, it takes a little bit of time to have someone from corporate comms and to schedule time with the leader, and then it's just a conversation and a little editing. So I get that we all are short on time, but to be short on time and the result of which is that you push out something that is boring, that nobody wants to engage with, is not worth it. It's worth spending a fraction of additional time to put a creative wrapper or some framing device or some contest or some game or something interesting about it will infinitely boost your engagement factor and then help them get to know you. One example that randomly comes to mind was, and I didn't come up with this, but it was like a company was putting out a training on basically like romantic relationships in the workplace. And it's like, you can't do this and you can't do that and don't do this and don't do that. And they just flipped it and they basically called it like how to sleep with your boss. And it still cracks me up to this day. I don't know if every company could put that out, but the takeaway is they took the you can'ts and said, oh, if you were to do, this is how you would do it. And within that, they put the same rules in place, but talked about all the ways that were acceptable. And I love that. It's just cheeky enough and positive enough that it was interesting. And that's just them taking the same existing course and flipping it around and changing the language. So, yeah.
I can't think of a better way to end a podcast than on the topic of sex.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. The terms, things that are sexy are interesting, even in a corporate environment. So we have to find ways to be corporate friendly, sexy, interesting, creative, and playful. And guess what? By doing that, through your online communications, through recording something on your iPhone, by making a trading card, by producing a little in-house video with your team, all of this, and of course, showing up live whenever you can, well, on that road show or those live trainings, and showing up and speaking to the business in their language will be incredibly helpful to you. And then guess what? They'll start asking you to show up to more meetings. They'll start thinking of you though as those advisors and coaches that you are.
Can't think, like I said, a great way to end this. You want to tell everybody goodbye, Ronnie?
Goodbye, Ronnie. Good to see you. See you next time.
Compliance Podcast Network. Start your mornings with daily compliance news, quick, sharp updates on the top compliance and ethics stories in under 5 minutes every morning in Compliance Podcast Network. Because compliance never sleeps. Need practical advice fast? Check out Compliance Tip of the Day. One actionable idea to level up your program. Short and sweet. Every day on Compliance Podcast Network. Got 10 minutes? We've got the week's top 10 stories. 10 for 10 brings you the big compliance headlines. Fast, fun, and focused. Every Saturday on Compliance Podcast Network. And don't miss the Sunday Book Review, where compliance meets culture through must-read books and big ideas every Sunday in Compliance Podcast Network. Whether you're in the office, on a walk, or commuting, stay smart, stay ethical, stay tuned. Only on the Compliance Podcast Network. Available wherever you listen to podcasts.